The morning began like any other day on Earth. Streets were busy, people walked to work, children laughed on the way to school, and the sky was clear. No one knew that within minutes, the world would witness something that would change human history forever. It started with a small flicker on every screen. First, phones froze. Then televisions showed static. Giant digital billboards in cities went dark. Even military satellites reported sudden signal interference. At first, people thought it was a normal technical problem. But the flicker returned, this time stronger. In a small apartment in New London, an old man named Harris stared at his frozen TV, confused. In Tokyo, a young woman stopped scrolling her phone when the screen turned black. Across the deserts of Arizona, a truck driver pulled over as his radio began to hiss with sharp static. Everything electronic, everywhere on Earth, suddenly went silent. Then the signal returned. Every screen lit up with the same strange symbol, a burning red circle with 3 vertical lines. Nobody had ever seen it before. The symbol pulsed like a heartbeat. People gathered around screens in markets, houses, offices, schools, airports. A strange fear settled in everyone's chest. Without warning, the symbol vanished, and a new image appeared. A tall alien creature stood on a metal platform, its skin dark blue and covered with sharp ridges. Its eyes glowed white, cold and empty. The creature wore armor filled with glowing markings, and behind it stood several soldiers holding long spear-like weapons made of energy. The creature spoke. Its voice was calm, steady, and too confident. "People of Earth," it said, "you are now watching the will of the Vornak's dominion." The words echoed around the planet. Children cried. Adults stared in shock. Governments tried to cut the signal, but nothing worked. Every broadcast in the world was locked. The alien continued. "We promised you a demonstration. Today, we show you what happens to those who resist our rule." The camera slowly pulled back, and then humanity saw it. A massive open field on another planet, filled with cages. Hundreds, thousands, each cage holding terrified humans. Men, women, children, the elderly. Some cried, some prayed, some stared into space with empty eyes. Their clothes were torn, their bodies weak. They looked like they had been held there for months. A cold silence spread through Earth. People covered their mouths. Some fell to the ground in shock. Others screamed at the screens, hoping it was a nightmare. But it was real. The alien leader raised his hand. "These humans," he said, "were captured during our cleansing campaign across the outer colonies you call lost missions. 9 million of your kind were taken." A low hum filled the air as giant machines rolled forward behind the cages. Their barrels glowed bright orange. "No!" someone whispered on Earth. People everywhere began shaking their heads, hoping the broadcast would stop, hoping someone would cut the signal. The alien lowered his hand. "Begin." What followed was horror. The machines fired beams of light. Fast, bright, merciless. The cages exploded. Screams filled the broadcast. Smoke rose into the alien sky. The Vornak soldiers laughed, enjoying the destruction. Humans tried to run, but they had nowhere to go. More machines fired. More screaming. More ashes. Earth watched helplessly as 9 million humans were slaughtered live, in front of their entire species. Families saw loved ones die. Friends saw faces they recognized vanish in the smoke. Some people collapsed. Some broke down crying. Some stared with empty eyes, their minds refusing to accept what they saw. Military officers clenched their fists in anger but had no power to stop it. After several long minutes, the slaughter ended. The alien leader returned to the screen. His armor was covered in dust from the destruction. "This is mercy," he said. "This is order. This is your future. Unless you surrender your planet." The screen zoomed in on his face, cold and emotionless. "We are coming next." The broadcast cut out. Every screen on Earth went black. There was no sound, no movement, no breath. The whole planet seemed frozen in fear. But deep beneath Earth's surface, something ancient and hidden began to activate. A silent system, buried for decades, powered by forgotten technology and old secrets. A system no alien knew about. A system designed not for peace, but for retaliation. The lights inside a massive underground chamber flickered to life. Machines hummed. Metal shifted. Warning lights turned red. The floor vibrated as something enormous began to wake. Earth had watched 9 million humans die. Earth had been threatened. Now Earth answered. Quietly, without a single word. Humanity had always feared the unknown. But now the unknown would learn to fear humanity. The world did not sleep that night. Cities filled with fear. Families stayed close together. Emergency lines were flooded. No one knew if the alien fleet was already on the way. The broadcast of the massacre replayed in every mind like a nightmare that refused to fade. But far beneath the surface, under mountains of steel and rock, something else was happening. A hidden elevator descended deeper than any normal structure. The lights inside flickered as Commander Rhea Hale stood silently, her jaw tight. She had watched the same broadcast as everyone else, but she did not break down. Her anger was quiet, sharp, and focused. The elevator stopped at a giant underground door. A scanner flashed across her face. Access granted. Project Titan Command Center opening. The metal doors slid apart. Inside was a massive room filled with glowing monitors, silent machines, and dozens of highly trained officers. Maps of the solar system floated in holographic form above the floor. The air smelled like cold metal and electricity. Everyone in the room stood when Rhea entered. She walked straight to the central table. "Status report," she said, her voice steady. General Marcus stepped forward. "We confirmed the broadcast came from outside our sector. We have identified the attackers. The Vornax Dominion." A quiet curse moved through the room. Rhea nodded. "So it's true." Marcus continued. "Yes. And we also confirmed the worst part. The 9 million humans they killed were the missing crews from the frontier missions." A heavy silence followed. Years ago, those missions had disappeared without a trace. Everyone believed they were lost in space accidents. No one guessed they were captured and slaughtered. Rhea took a slow breath. "What about the Omega Protocol?" Marcus hesitated. "It activated the moment the broadcast ended." Everyone looked at one another. The Omega Protocol was not something they ever expected to use. It was Earth's final plan, a secret weapon created only for a situation like this, when humanity itself was under direct threat of extinction. Commander Rhea tapped a code into the table. The holographic map changed, showing a hidden network of satellites surrounding Earth. "These satellites were built 30 years ago," she said. "Not for communication. Not for weather studies. They were made for defense, using technology recovered from the first alien wreck we found." Several officers nodded. They all knew the story, but few had actually seen the satellite network in action. Rhea zoomed in on a cluster of machines orbiting near the moon. Project Titan was created because we knew this day would come. Not from Vornax, perhaps, but from someone out there. A young technician raised his hand. "Commander, do we really have enough power to fight them?" Rhea's eyes hardened. "If we don't fight, they will kill every human on this planet." The technician lowered his gaze. Rhea turned to another officer. "Activate Titan units." The officer hesitated. "All of them, ma'am?" "Yes, all of them." Around the room, officers began typing commands. Lights flashed red. Alarms sounded. It felt like the heartbeat of something giant awakening. Deep below the base, Titan units, massive robotic machines the size of small buildings, began powering up. Their eyes glowed with bright blue light. Their armor plates shifted and locked into position. Each unit looked like a sleeping giant opening its eyes after a long rest. Back in the command center, a message popped onto the main screen. "Titan units online." Another message followed. "Omega system charging." Rhea watched the glowing words, her face unreadable. A communication officer suddenly spoke. "Commander, we're picking up movement at the edge of the solar system." "Show me." The map zoomed out. There, far beyond Pluto, several glowing signatures appeared. At first, they looked like distant stars. But then they grew brighter. Then brighter. And then they moved. Fast. General Marcus stared at the map. "That's them. The Vornax fleet. A chill spread through the room, but Rhea remained steady. How long until they reach Earth? 2 days, Marcus said quietly. Rhea looked around the room. From today forward, we are no longer hiding Project Titan. Earth must prepare. Alert all governments. Begin evacuation protocols for major cities. And keep the Omega system at maximum charge. One officer asked, Commander, should we try to communicate with them? Rhea shook her head. We already saw how they communicate. They kill first. They talk later. Everyone fell silent. She continued, when they arrive, we will show them something they have never seen before. Humanity united. Humanity ready. A deep rumble echoed through the base as the Titan units began moving to their launch platforms. For the first time in Earth's history, humanity was preparing not just to survive, but to strike back. And somewhere far beyond the stars, the Vornax fleet sped toward Earth, confident and arrogant, believing humans were weak. They had no idea what waited for them. Not surrender, not fear, not silence, but something far more dangerous. A world ready to fight for every life lost. The Vornax fleet moved through space like a swarm of metal dragons. Their ships were dark, sharp, and shaped like long blades. Each one carried hundreds of warriors. And all of them were heading straight for Earth. Inside the largest ship, the Vornax commander, Exor Khan, stood on the bridge. His body was tall and strong, covered in blue armored plates. His eyes glowed white as he looked at the star map. Human world ahead, one soldier said. Exor Khan smiled, a cold and cruel smile. Good. Prepare the message. The Vornax believed Earth was broken. They believed humans were weak. They believed the massacre they broadcasted had destroyed all hope. They expected fear. They expected surrender. But back on Earth, something different was happening. Deep inside the Titan Command Center, Commander Rhea Hale watched the same map. The Vornax signatures were growing larger every hour. They were close enough now that Earth's long-range sensors could read the exact size of their fleet. General Marcus stood beside her. Commander, we count 147 enemy ships. Rhea didn't blink. We expected worse. The officers looked at her with nervous eyes. They respected her strength, but they also knew how dangerous the Vornax were. Rhea stepped closer to the central screen. Bring Titan units to full movement mode. Keep the Omega system charging. Yes, ma'am. Across the underground base, giant metal doors opened. Titan units, towering machines, nearly 20 meters tall, walked toward their launch platforms. Their heavy steps shook the ground. Far above them, Earth's defense satellites adjusted their positions. Their metallic surfaces rotated like eyes opening in the dark. Earth was no longer asleep. As the Vornax fleet crossed Neptune's orbit, Exor Khan opened a communication channel toward Earth. His voice echoed across space and through every communication system. Humans, he said calmly, you have seen our power. You have seen your people die. When we arrive, you will kneel. The message reached the Titan Command Center. Officers clenched their teeth in anger. Rhea gave a short order. Do not respond. But Commander, an officer said, should we send a warning? Rhea shook her head. They think we are afraid. Let them think it a little longer. Earth stayed silent. The Vornax mistook that silence for fear. Exor Khan laughed. Cowards, he said. They hide. They cry. They do nothing. He raised his arm. The Vornax ships changed formation, now flying like a spear pointed directly at Earth. Begin power charge, Exor Khan ordered. Weapons ready when we enter their atmosphere. The Vornax fleet glowed with burning energy. But then something unexpected happened. As the ships entered Jupiter's orbit, their engines flickered. Weak for a moment. Almost like something invisible touched them. A Vornax technician shouted, Commander, our energy levels dropped, now recovering. Exor Khan frowned. What caused it? We don't know. He glared at the screen. Scan again. But this time, there was nothing to see. The ships continued moving, but the first seeds of doubt had entered the Vornax commander's mind. Back on Earth, Commander Rhea said, the first test pulse worked. The officers around her breathed with relief. Earth had released a hidden energy wave from the Omega system, something they had never used before. It spread across space like a soft breeze, invisible to the eye, but deadly to Vornak's technology. It will not stop them, Marcus said, but it will weaken them. Rhea nodded. Just enough to give us an edge. Hours later, the Vornak's fleet finally reached the moon. They expected silence, darkness, and no resistance. Instead, their scanners detected strange structures on the surface. Exarchon narrowed his eyes. What is this? Humans do not have bases on the moon. A soldier answered. Commander, these structures are old. Very old. But active. Before Exarchon could respond, the moon lit up. Giant metal plates shifted. Huge doors opened across the lunar surface. Weapons rose, ancient but powerful, hidden for decades, waiting for this very moment. Fire, Rhea commanded from Earth. The moon's hidden cannons shot beams of light straight into space. The first Vornak ship exploded instantly. The second lost control and spun into a nearby cruiser. 2 more ships burst into flames. Exarchon roared, "Shields up! Counterattack!" The Vornaks returned fire, burning the lunar soil, blasting craters into the surface. But the hidden Earth defenses kept firing. Earth had turned the moon into a trap. Inside the Titan command center, officers cheered as the enemy ships fell. General Marcus whispered, "Commander, they didn't expect this." Rhea's voice was hard. They expected fear. They were wrong. The Vornak's fleet pulled back, regrouping behind the moon. Exarchon slammed his fist on the control panel. How? Humans are primitives. How did they create such defenses? No one answered. He looked at the glowing planet in the distance. Earth. For the first time, he felt a small spark of fear. "Prepare all soldiers," he said. "We attack with full force." Back on Earth, Rhea Hale watched the enemy regroup. "They will come harder now," Marcus said. "Yes," Rhea replied. "And we will be ready." The Titan units marched onto their launch rails. Earth was no longer the victim. Earth was becoming the hunter. The moon battle had changed everything. The Vornak's fleet, once confident and proud, now circled the moon like wounded predators. Smoke drifted from several of their ships. Sparks fell from damaged hulls. The Vornaks were still strong, but the surprise attack had shaken them. Inside the flagship, Commander Exarchon stood motionless, staring at the distant Earth. His jaw was tight. His pride was wounded. "How did they build those weapons?" he growled. No soldier dared to answer. Exarchon finally spoke. "Enough games. Prepare full ground invasion. I want humans crushed under our boots." The Vornak's fleet adjusted formation, slowly moving out from behind the moon. Their weapons glowed, ready to fire again. They expected Earth to panic. They expected chaos. But Earth had been waiting. Inside the Titan command center, Commander Rhea Hale stood between glowing screens. Her eyes followed every enemy movement. "They're coming," General Marcus said. "I know," she replied. "Begin Titan unit deployment." Every officer hurried into action. Lights turned red. Warning sirens echoed through the underground base. Deep below, giant silos opened. Titan units, massive machines built for war, stood on launch platforms. Their bodies were shaped like armored giants, with powerful arms and heavy plating. Their eyes burned with a bright blue glow. They were humanity's might in metal form. A robotic voice echoed through the hangar. "Titan units, launch sequence initiated." Hydraulic locks released. The ground shook. With a sudden burst of energy, the first Titan unit shot upward through a launch tunnel. Then another. And another. One after another, they blasted into the sky like steel rockets. Above the clouds, the Titan units deployed their wings, large mechanical frames that allowed them to glide. They soared toward the incoming Vornak's fleet. On the flagship, Exarchon watched the sensors. "Commander," a soldier said nervously, "we detect multiple objects rising from Earth." "What kind of objects?" The soldier zoomed in. The screen filled with towering metal giants flying through the clouds. The soldier whispered, "Machines, human machines." Exarchon snarled. Destroy them! Vornax fighters rushed forward, firing laser beams. The sky lit up with red streaks of energy. But the Titan units moved fast. Much faster than the Vornax expected. One Titan unit twisted in midair and dodged the laser fire. Another blocked a beam with its armored arm, the metal glowing but not breaking. They flew like creatures born for battle. Then the Titans struck back. The first Titan unit grabbed a Vornax fighter by the wing and slammed it into another. Both exploded like fireworks. Another Titan landed on top of a cruiser, punching straight through its hull. The entire ship broke open, spilling dark smoke into space. A third Titan spun midair and shot a pulse blast from its chest. The energy beam cut a Vornax ship clean in half. Inside the command center, officers watched the live feed with wide eyes. "They're stronger than expected," Marcus said. Rhea didn't look away from the screen. They were built for this moment. In space, the battle grew fiercer. Vornax warriors began launching from their ships, tall, armored, and armed with sharp energy blades. They flew with jetpacks, roaring toward the Titans. One Vornax soldier landed on a Titan unit's shoulder, stabbing its armor. Sparks flew, but the Titan grabbed the alien and crushed him with a single squeeze. Another Titan threw a fighter ship into a swarm of Vornax soldiers, sending bodies spinning into the void. The Vornax had always seen humans as weak. Now they saw something else, something terrifying. Humanity had teeth. Back on Earth, Rhea watched the enemy struggle. Maka said, "Commander, we are winning." Rhea shook her head. "Not yet. The Vornax haven't used their biggest ships." Almost on cue, the largest Vornax cruiser moved forward. Its sides opened, revealing a massive cannon glowing with purple energy. Exorcan lifted his arm. "Fire the void cannon. Erase their machines." The cannon hummed, gathering power. "Commander!" an officer shouted in the Titan command center. "They're charging a superweapon." Rhea didn't hesitate. "Activate Phase 2. Phase 2. Marcus asked. Rhea stepped forward. "Release the Titan Colossus." A silence fell. Then the ground beneath the facility began to shake, harder than before. Deep underground, a chamber opened. Something enormous began to rise. Taller than any Titan unit. Stronger. Heavily armored. The Titan Colossus. It stepped onto a launch rail. The entire base trembled with its weight. "Launch," Rhea ordered. With a deafening sound, the Titan Colossus shot upward, breaking through layers of steel, rock, and earth. It burst into the sky like a metal mountain. Inside the Vornax flagship, alarms rang. "What is that?" a soldier screamed. The Titan Colossus landed on the moon's surface, shaking the ground. Dust rose in clouds. It stared directly at the massive Vornax cruiser. The void cannon fired. A huge purple beam shot toward the Titan Colossus. Everyone on Earth held their breath. The Colossus raised its shield. The beam hit. A massive explosion erupted. Smoke filled space. For several seconds, nothing could be seen. Then the smoke cleared. The Titan Colossus still stood, shield glowing, armor steaming, but unbroken. Inside the Vornax flagship, Exorcan's eyes widened with real fear. "What are these humans?" Commander Rhea watched the screen and whispered, "This is only the beginning." Earth was striking back, harder than anyone expected. The Vornax were about to learn what humans truly were. Not victims, not prey, but warriors. The Vornax attack slowed after the Titan Colossus survived the void cannon blast. Their ships drifted backward, forming a defensive ring around the flagship. The aliens were no longer rushing forward with confidence. They were watching the giant metal warrior standing on the moon like a silent guardian. Commander Exorcan clenched his teeth. His pride burned hotter than any laser. "Pull our troops back behind the moon," he ordered. "We will regroup. The humans cannot hide their tricks forever." The Vornax fleet began moving toward the far side of the moon. None of them knew that this was exactly what Earth wanted. Inside the Titan Command Center, Commander Rhea Hale studied their movements with sharp eyes. "They're taking the bait," General Marcus said. "They always do," Rhea replied. "They think we are weak. They think our defenses are only on Earth." They don't understand what we built on the moon. Marcus nodded slowly. We activate the trap? Rhea answered. Now. She pressed her hand onto a sealed console. A voice from the system spoke. Lunar Fortress Omega. Authorization confirmed. Deep beneath the moon's gray dust, giant gears started turning for the first time in decades. Far above, the Vornax ships landed on the moon's surface, forming a circle. Troops marched across the rocky ground, preparing for a ground assault. One Vornax soldier looked around and frowned. Commander, are we certain this place is safe? The human machines came from here. Exorkin snapped at him. Do not question me. They are hiding. We will crush whatever remains. But then, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumble spread through the lunar soil. What is that? A soldier shouted. The rumble grew louder. Cracks split across the ground. Dust rose into the air. Before anyone could react, huge metal plates opened under the Vornax troops. The moon itself opened its jaws. Alarms rang inside every Vornax ship. Commander! One pilot screamed. We detect movement under the surface. Exorkin stared out the window as the impossible happened. Gigantic doors lifted from the lunar soil. Massive cannons rose, bigger than any the Vornax had seen. Missile towers unfolded like awakening beasts. Energy grids lit up under the ground, forming a glowing pattern that surrounded the Vornax landing zone. The moon was a fortress, and the Vornax were standing in the center of its kill zone. Inside the fortress, old mechanical hearts began to beat. Turbines spun. Energy flowed through ancient cables. The entire structure came alive. Commander Rhea's voice echoed through the control system. Lunar Fortress Omega. Fire. The moon shook. Then it unleashed hell. Massive cannons fired beams of blue light straight into the Vornax ships. One ship exploded instantly. Another lost its engines and crashed into the ground, crushing dozens of soldiers. Missiles launched from hidden silos, streaking across the lunar sky. They split into smaller warheads and struck the Vornax formation. Explosions lit up the surface like a storm of fire. Vornax soldiers screamed as energy grids activated under their feet. Electrical waves shot upward, throwing them into the air. Inside the Titan command center, officers watched the live feed. Marcus whispered, "It's working better than we hoped." Rhea's voice remained steady. We spent 40 years building this. The moon is not a rock. It's a weapon. Back at the battle site, the Titan Colossus charged through dust clouds, moving faster than something its size should be able to. It smashed through a fallen Vornax ship, breaking the hull open with one strike. Vornax troops opened fire on it from all sides. Laser beams lit up the Colossus armor, but the giant didn't slow. It swatted soldiers away like insects. It grabbed a Vornax war tank and threw it across the battlefield, where it exploded against a moon tower. The Vornax were trapped from all angles. Ships falling, soldiers scattering, weapons failing. The fear that the Vornax never believed they could feel was now real. Inside the flagship, chaos erupted. Commander, our shields are failing. Commander, we are losing ground units. Commander, 2 more cruisers destroyed. Exorkin slammed his fist down. Retreat! Pull all ships away from the moon. But it was too late. The moon's gravity anchors activated, locking Vornax ships in place. The engines roared as they tried to break free, but nothing moved. They were caught. Commander Rhea watched calmly. All units, focus fire on their engines. Do not let a single ship escape. The Titan units flew from Earth, joining the fight. They landed around the moon like steel giants preparing for judgment. One Titan unit leapt onto a Vornax cruiser, punching straight through its hull. Another fired a burst of light that destroyed a whole row of enemy soldiers. The Vornax were being crushed piece by piece. Inside the flagship, Exorkin finally felt something he had never felt in his life. Fear. The humans were not just resisting, they were winning. His voice trembled as he shouted, "How can this be? How can humans have such power?" No one answered. Outside, the Titan Colossus stepped forward. Its massive shadow fell across the Vornax flagship. The humans had laid the perfect trap. and the Vornax had walked into it blindly. Earth was no longer defending. Earth was hunting. Earth was calm on the outside, but inside its underground cities, something dark and powerful was waking up. The foreign empire thought Earth was weak, broken, and frightened. They believed humans would stay low after the massacre of 9 million lives. They were wrong. Earth had slept long enough. And now the world was preparing something the galaxy had never seen. General Arden walked through a long tunnel deep under the ruined city of Madrid. The tunnel lights flickered, but the soldiers around him moved with strong confidence. They knew what this place was. They knew what waited below. This was the home of Shadow Hand, a silent project that Earth kept hidden for 20 years. No foreign empire knew about it. No spy had ever escaped to report it. And tonight, the Shadow Hand was finally awakening. When Arden entered the main chamber, he saw 12 large holographic screens showing every corner of the galaxy. Hundreds of officers worked together, calm but focused, their fingers racing over consoles. At the center stood Commander Sarah Voss, the woman who built Shadow Hand from nothing. Her long coat moved like a blade as she turned toward Arden. "You heard the signal," she said. "Phase 4 begins." Arden nodded. "The people are ready. They want justice." Sarah's voice was cold. "They will have it. But justice comes with teeth." Most people in the galaxy believed Earth had only old ships. They believed humans were too busy healing from past wars and old disasters. They believed Earth's fleets were slow, weak, and outdated. That lie had kept Earth safe for years. But behind that lie stood the truth. Inside hidden docks under oceans, deserts, and mountains, a new kind of fleet waited. Sarah pressed a button. A giant screen came alive, showing the deep Atlantic Ocean splitting open. A massive hangar door rose, water falling like a waterfall. And then the shadows moved. At first, they looked like dark shapes. Then their forms became clear, black ships, quiet as death, sliding out from the deep like predators. No bright colors. No loud engines. Just silent metal and cold purpose. Arden whispered under his breath. "They look angry." Sarah nodded. "They are. These ships were not built for patrol. They were built for one job. Hunting." Across the galaxy, the foreign empire celebrated their broadcast of slaughter. They believed fear would break Earth. But Earth's leaders understood something important. The empire had grown lazy. They had not fought a real war in centuries. They used terror instead of strength. They liked to show power, not earn it. And now they did not notice the movement in the shadows. The Shadow Hand activated thousands of small drones, micro-sized machines that could hide on enemy hulls, walls, even under their tables without being seen. These drones moved across the galaxy like dust carried by wind. Some reached enemy stations. Some reached fleets. Some reached the Empire capital itself. And none of them were detected. The room fell silent when Sarah gave the order. "Begin silent storms." One officer typed quickly. Silent storms launched. In space, far from Earth, dozens of unmarked spheres drifted in the dark. They looked small, harmless, almost useless. But inside each sphere was a storm, an invisible wave of energy that could disable shields, cut power, and turn ships blind. One by one, the spheres opened. There was no explosion, no flash, just darkness. Enemy ships suddenly froze. Their lights went out. Their engines died mid-flight. Entire fleets slowed in confusion. Officers screamed across their comms. System failure. Shields offline. Sensors down. Admirals demanded answers but received nothing. Mechanic crews rushed everywhere. No one understood what was happening. And that fear, the fear of the unknown, spread faster than any weapon Earth had ever used. Arden watched the reports come in. "This is only the beginning?" Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Yes. First we silence them. Then we deliver the message Earth deserves." One drone reached the Empire's largest command center, a tower so tall it touched cloud lines. Guards walked around it proudly, unaware that a grain-sized machine had entered their ventilation. Inside the main hall, the Empire's captains argued loudly about the sudden failures. Then the lights flickered. Then they died. And a single screen turned on. A black background. A white sentence. Simple. Cold. Final. You slaughtered ours. Now the shadows come for you. Every captain froze. Every heart trembled. For the first time, they felt fear. Not from a monster, not from a rival empire, but from the world they thought was weak. Earth was not weak. Earth was waiting. Earth was rising. Back on Earth, Sarah gave the next command. Prepare Phase 5. Arden asked, Are you sure? This will change everything. Sarah responded with a steady voice. They crossed the line when they broadcast death like entertainment. Now we answer. Officers straightened. Soldiers saluted. The Shadow Hand Fleet's engines warmed with a low, hungry hum. Humanity had mourned long enough. And now the hunters were ready. The galaxy did not know it yet, but a storm was moving toward the Empire. A storm shaped by grief. A storm powered by 9 million lost voices. A storm named Earth. Shadow Hand's fleet left the hidden docks in complete silence. Its ships cut through space like blades through water. Dark, invisible, and merciless. No trace of engine light. No signal. No sound. The Empire had mocked Earth. The Empire had broadcast human death as entertainment. Now the price would be collected. Commander Sarah Voss stood on the bridge of the flagship Eclipse, 01. Its windows looked out at the stars, calm and endless. Beside her, General Arden watched the navigation screens. Time to reach their capital system? Sarah asked. 7 minutes, responded the navigator. 7 minutes until justice arrived. Reports from shadow drones filled the bridge. Enemy fleets were blind. Their systems broken. Their scanners useless. No one in the Empire saw Earth's fleet approaching, the perfect invisibility Earth had planned for years. Arden folded his arms. When they broadcast those deaths, they believed the galaxy would bow to them. Sarah replied, Then let the galaxy watch their fall. Inside the Empire's capital, panic spread like fire. Their main command center was dark. Their ships could not take off. Their defense satellites were silent. Admiral Kronos, one of the rulers who ordered the broadcast, slammed his fist on a dead console. Find the enemy! Where is Earth's fleet? Technicians shook with fear. Sir, scanners are offline. We can't track anything. It's like the whole system is under attack by ghosts. Kronos growled. Earth does not have this kind of power. But deep down, he felt the truth. This wasn't power. This was revenge. Shadow Hand's fleet arrived above the Empire's capital world without resistance. There were no warnings, no interceptors, no anti-ship guns. The Empire was blind, deaf, and broken. Sarah raised her hand. Activate curtain. A single ship launched a dark sphere above the planet. It spread a silent cloud across the sky, blocking all long-range signals. Every camera, every satellite, every weapon became useless. No one on the planet could call for help. The sky turned black as night, and fear awakened in every creature below. Shadow Hand did not attack immediately. First, they delivered a message, one that would be remembered for generations. A giant projection formed in the sky above the planet's main city. Billions looked up, trembling. Commander Sarah's voice echoed across their world. You broadcast the death of 9 million humans. You celebrated their suffering. Tonight, you face the result of your own cruelty. The streets fell silent. For every human you slaughtered, Sarah continued, one star will fade for you. And then the projection vanished. The Empire had 1 second of breath. Only one Shadow Hand unleashed the next phase. Not bombs. Not lasers. Not fire. Something colder. Every military base on the planet suddenly lost gravity control. Soldiers floated helplessly. Weapons drifted out of reach. Then the bases collapsed into themselves. Silent, controlled implosions. No flames. No debris flying outward. Everything was pulled inward like metal into a magnetic core. The Empire's armies were erased in seconds. Next, communication towers snapped like dry sticks. War factories shut down forever. The palace, the heart of their power, fell without a single shot. Its walls folded inward like paper, trapping the leaders who ordered the broadcast. General Arden whispered. "This is justice." Sarah closed her eyes. "This is mercy. We could have done much worse." Above the dying capital, the Eclipse 01 received a signal from Earth. It was a simple command. "End the butchers." Sarah nodded. "All ships, prepare final strike." Shadow Hands fleet aligned, their weapons charged with silent energy, an energy that could erase a species but leave the planet untouched. "Targets locked," the gunnery officer confirmed. Sarah raised her hand. "For Earth." The fleet fired. The beams were quiet, white, and sharp. They passed through the atmosphere like thin lines of light, harmless to buildings, harmless to the land, harmless to nature, but lethal to the Empire's species. Every member of the species responsible for the genocide fell where they stood. No suffering, no flames, no long pain, just instant silence. Their rule ended in one breath. Earth had wiped out their entire species. Swiftly, cleanly, without hate. Only justice remained behind. With the enemy gone, Sarah ordered one final message to the galaxy. The projection showed the empty palace, the quiet world, and Shadow Hands fleet above it. Her voice went out across thousands of systems. Earth will not be hunted. Earth will not be mocked. Earth will not forget. She paused. If any empire harms humanity again, you will not face our armies. You will face our shadows. Every ruler in the galaxy understood the warning. Earth was no longer a weak world. Earth was a power wrapped in silence. A power born from grief. A power that could not be stopped. Shadow Hands' fleet turned away from the ruined capital and began their journey back to Earth. Arden exhaled. "It's over." Sarah looked at the stars. "No," she said quietly. "It has just begun. The galaxy now knows who we are." She walked back to her command chair as the fleet sailed through space, leaving a dead empire behind and a new legend ahead. A legend that would never be forgotten. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy had listened.